Hello, this is Sandra Shevey, and this week we're going to be revisiting my interview with Walter Matthau. Matthau, who was an uncanny kind of a character, succeeded in becoming a star, even though he was pretty much and always was a rough diamond. He had done a lot of work. He had already done the Neil Simon films, comedies, The Odd Couple, and he was working once again with Billy Wilder, this time on Buddy Buddy. I believe it was Buddy Buddy. Sorry, it might have been the front page. They did a series together at Universal at that time. Billy came over to our table and made some remarks, which are on the tape, which I will have to play at another time. But let me just say, my ears are still burning from his comments to me. The interview with Matthau started out at Universal Studios commissary, where they were making the film, producing the film, I should say, or distributing it. We then made for his car. Much of the day was spent riding around, picking up his son, doing errands before we arrived at his house. So it was a very inclusive kind of a day. I got to meet his son, Charlie, who's probably about age 50 now, but was about 8 or 9 or 10 at that time. And I also got to meet Mrs Charles Powell. I had known Charles when he was working as head of Columbia Pictures publicity in New York, and they had just come out to the West Coast. So it was an interesting kind of a day. The interview took place in his car for the most part, so there's a bit of background noise. Anyway, enjoy the interview.
You feel terrible after you make candy? Why?
Yeah. Well, it's such a dirty picture.
Because you couldn't show it to your mother, you mean? Or?
No, that's not what I mean. Because it was a dirty picture is what I mean.
Yes, but it's very... go into that a little bit. Why did you make it?
Well, I didn't know it was going to be a dirty picture. I only read my part, and
seemed funny.
They showed me, I said, who else is going to be in it? They said Marlon Brando and Richard Burton, and they showed me their scenes, which I read rather rapidly. They didn't have the whole script together. And then a very good friend of mine told me that the director was a man of exquisite taste, and found out that he was a man of very poor taste, or else he just didn't understand the medium.
Who directed the film?
Christian Marcon.
I'm not familiar with his work. What else has he done?
That's it.
Oh, I see.
He's an actor, a French actor. Looks like Olivier, except younger and a little better looking. Hard to believe, isn't it? But it's a little better looking than Olivier.
Yeah, well, Olivier never was my type, but I guess he's good looking. Certainly a good actor, that's for sure. Didn't have any of Olivier's talent, obviously. Did he?
Well, I don't think so, no. It didn't come near Olivier in talent.
And the Terry sent a script. Terry did a script, didn't he? As well as the book?
I don't think so. Buck Henry did the script.
Yeah, that's right. You see, Henry's very acerbic. Too much so sometimes, you know. That might have been the problem. Well, no, play that. You convinced Elaine to direct it?
Oh, no. Nobody would give her a job as director, writer, I mean, they wouldn't even give a man that job. Orson Welles and Charlie Chaplin. Who else? I mean, who would give Elaine May a job as a director?
Yeah, that's right.
They would as a writer if the stuff was in, you got a star who...
I know, yeah.
But to talk them into letting her star in the play, in the picture, be the female star, direct it, and she's the writer, was a feat, I must say, of no mean proportions. I'd like to get a lot of credit for that. I convinced Howard Koch that was a good move.
Now, did Elaine know how to say roll the cameras and stuff like that? I mean, did she?
Well, as a matter of fact, that's what she said to me. She said, you know, I'm ashamed to say action and roll them. I said, you got to, for Christ's sake. You got to say roll them. You got to say action. Or start.
Yeah.
She'll say, oh, I'll say start. I don't like saying. And you got to, for crying out loud, say cut, print. Don't be so fucking indecisive.